Good morning, grade 7 students. In this video, we're going to talk about respiration part 3. Let's talk about blood. What is responsible for the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our body? What is the element that transports oxygen and carbon dioxide? Which one is responsible for carrying oxygen and carbon dioxide? As we know, carbon dioxide and oxygen, we call them the respiratory gases. So these are the respiratory gases. So what is responsible for the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our blood and our body? It's called the blood. So here, the blood reaching the lungs will be poor in oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide. But wait a minute. Whenever we enter the lungs, the air inside the lungs is rich in oxygen. That's why we can use the oxygen inside our body. And the air in the lungs is poor in carbon dioxide. What happens and what is the event responsible for this? So, what happens to the blood when it enters the lungs? Here you have to know this. What is diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of particles of a substance from a medium, from a place containing a high concentration. What the meaning of high concentration? Containing a high amount of this element or this substance, or even it may be containing high pressure or high volume to a medium or to a place containing low amount of this substance or low value or low pressure or low volume of this substance. Let's have an example about this in order to understand what is diffusion. So diffusion is the movement, so they move from medium of high concentration to medium of low concentration. Let's give it a small example. We have two grades. We have grade 7 and we have grade 8. In grade 8, for example, we have 8 students. And in grade 7, we have 100. So the students in grade 7, they will move toward the medium or toward the class containing low amount or low number of the students. This process, whenever it occurs inside our body, we call it diffusion. So diffusion is the movement of particles from medium containing high concentration or high number of this substance to a medium containing low concentration or low amount of this substance. So this is what we call it by diffusion. So diffusion, you have to study this definition is the movement. So here, pay attention. This one, we have to study it, diffusion. So you have to study this definition. So the movement of a substance from a medium of high concentration to a medium of low concentration, but pay attention in this substance. For example, we have high amount of oxygen and another medium we have low amount of oxygen. So the oxygen will move from the medium of high concentration to the medium. They will escape the, for example, the traffic بيهربوا من العجقة to medium containing low amount. So here, let's see this figure. This figure containing we have two mediums, this medium 1 and medium 2. Medium 1 will contain high amount of the red dots. Let's imagine these red dots are the oxygen if you want. So the oxygen contain high amount. The oxygen will diffuse, will move from a medium of high concentration to a medium containing low concentration. So here, medium of high concentration, meaning that contain high number of these red dots or red spots, like we say that they are oxygen. They move to a medium containing low number of the red spots. So this process is done and is known as diffusion. So they diffuse from medium containing high number to medium containing low number. So the word or the verb is called diffuse. So the red spots, they diffuse from the medium containing high number, which is this medium, to the medium containing the low number, which is this medium. So the word or the verb is called diffuse. So this is the verb of diffusion. So diffuse, meaning that they move from medium of high concentration, to a medium of low concentration as done in this figure. Let's see for this application. This table is showing the variation of the quantity of oxygen and carbon dioxide in milliliter for each 100 milliliter of blood in the blood entering and blood leaving the lungs. So we have for each 100 milliliter of blood, we have to compare the quantity of oxygen and that of carbon dioxide in what? In milliliter. This is the unit in milliliter. In the blood entering and in the blood leaving the lungs. So first of all, if I want to compare, and this exercise, I aim to say interpret by I tend to compare. I want you to get used to the word compare. What the meaning of compare? What do we have to use? Anyone can raise your hand and tell me what the meaning of compare? What do we have to use in comparison? Yes, Razan. What can you say whenever we have to say compare? What do we use?
Increase or decrease?
Compare, increase or decrease, or analyze? Analyze,
Or
increase or decrease. Compare, what do you have to use?
bigger or smaller?
Yes, you have to say less than or more than. Okay?
Yes.
So whenever you
Yes.
have, thank you, Razan. So whenever we have compare, you have to say greater than or less than, or higher or lower. You can use even. So here we have the quantity of oxygen and the quantity of carbon dioxide in the blood entering here and the blood leaving. So what is the title of the table? This is the title of the table showing the variation of the quantity of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood entering and blood leaving. Laris, good morning, Laris.
Good morning.
So if I told you you have to compare the quantity of oxygen and the blood entering and the blood leaving, can you do it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, do it. Yeah, Laris, all of you pay attention to Laris.
So here the quality of oxygen in blood entering the lungs
Yes,
is 15,
51.
while the carbon dioxide is 53.
You have to use the unit, Laris. Pay attention.
What
15
did you
what?
say?
You have to use
I
the
didn't hear.
15 what?
50 ml
Milliliter. Excellent. So pay attention, Laris. Thank you, Laris.
and
Laris said that the quantity of oxygen in the blood entering it was 15 milliliter, and then he said that why the quantity of carbon dioxide was 53. This is a comparison, but between oxygen and carbon dioxide, it doesn't work. You have to compare with oxygen entering and oxygen in the blood entering and the blood leaving. This is comparison, Yalaris. And comparison, what do we have to use? We have to use less than or more than or greater than. Okay? This one, we can use it. So, Laris, can you do it again? And you have to compare oxygen in the blood entering and oxygen in the blood leaving. This is your turn, release. And then we move to Ali Basma to compare the carbon dioxide. Okay, Laris, can you compare it now?
the quality of oxygen
Yes.
entering the lungs is 15 milliliter.
Which is?
Uh, it's less than, which is
Yes.
less than the
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 quantity of
amount of
oxygen
oxygen
in the blood leaving the
leaving
lungs.
the it's 20.
20 milliliter. Excellent. Very good. This is the comparison. So you have to say, thank you, Laris. So the quantity of oxygen in the blood entering the lungs was 15 milliliter, which is less than the quantity of oxygen in the blood leaving the lungs, which is 20 milliliter. So this is the comparison. Okay, now let's move for carbon dioxide. Ali Basma, you raise your hand. So quantity of carbon
Yes.
dioxide in the blood
The,
entering and the blood leaving. Can you do it?
the quantity, yes.
Okay,
The,
Ali.
hmm?
Yeah, let's start.
The quantity of carbon dioxide in blood entering the lungs
Yes,
is 53, which
yes.
is more than the quantity of carbon dioxide in the blood leaving the lungs, which is 49.
Very good. Excellent, Ya Ali. Excellent. Thank you. So here, the quantity of oxygen and the quantity of carbon dioxide in the blood entering and in the blood leaving. So blood entering the lungs, the quantity of oxygen was 15, and in the blood leaving, it was 20. Who can explain this for me? How can you explain the increase in the quantity of oxygen? The blood entering the lungs, it was 15 milliliter. While leaving the lungs, it becomes 20. So from where do the difference come? Here, I want to listen from you, your answers. Let's see, Lin Khalifi, what do you think? From where did these five come? So we have 15, Yalin, and then we have 20. So what do you think? What's the difference between these two? What happened?
It increased.
Yes, it increases, but why? The lungs, they are rich in oxygen or they are poor?
Uh, Rich in oxygen.
So they go out from the lungs toward the blood leaving. So you have to use the word diffuse. We're going to discuss this in the coming slide. Thank you, Lynn. So here we move to the question. They said interpret the table. Here instead of interpret, I did comparison because I want you to get used to the word compare. Okay, more than interpret. So the blood entering the lungs contain less oxygen, 15 milliliter, than the blood leaving. So this means that the oxygen diffuses. Here, the important sentence here. This means that oxygen diffuses from the lungs to the blood. What do you think the lungs? They are rich in oxygen. They are rich in O2. So the oxygen diffuses from the lungs that are rich in oxygen to the blood that is poor in oxygen. And this is the word diffuse, poor in O2. So this sentence you have to study it. Also, I included this one in the coming slides. Okay? So here you have to know that the oxygen diffuses from the lungs the toward the blood. So it diffuses from medium rich in oxygen to the medium that is poor in oxygen, as well as for carbon dioxide, diffuses from the blood that is rich in carbon dioxide to the lungs. So here, this is the important conclusions. Here you have to study these. At the level of the lungs, we have the exchange of gases. Exchange of gases, which gases? Respiratory gases, which are oxygen, O2, and carbon dioxide, CO2. So from now on, keep it in your mind that oxygen gas, you have to study this for oxygen and this one for carbon dioxide. So for oxygen, oxygen gas diffuses from the lungs, you have to study it, that are rich in oxygen to the blood that is poor in oxygen. From now on, keep it in your mind that the oxygen gas diffuses from where to where? From the lungs that are rich, medium rich. We said that diffusion is the movement of a particle or a substance from a medium of high concentration to a medium of low concentration. So the lungs, they are medium of high concentration of what? In oxygen. To the blood, that is medium and low concentration of oxygen. So here you have to know this, that the oxygen gas diffuses from the lungs, medium rich in oxygen, to the blood that is medium poor. This is an important role. You have to study this. And carbon dioxide is the opposite. So carbon dioxide diffuses in the opposite direction from the blood that is rich in carbon dioxide. So the blood is rich in carbon dioxide, meaning that the blood, the carbon dioxide will diffuse from the blood to a medium of low concentration of carbon dioxide, and this is the lungs. So the lungs, they are poor in carbon dioxide. So as a conclusion, you have to know it. Oxygen gas diffuses from a medium of high concentration of oxygen, which is the lungs, to a medium of low concentration of oxygen, which is the blood. While the opposite is true for carbon dioxide, where carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood, medium rich in carbon dioxide, to the lungs, medium poor in carbon dioxide. So this is the important rule. You have to know it in this exercise or in this application. This is the conclusion here, and you have to keep it in your mind because you are going to use it a lot whenever we have a similar question in comparison. So here I tend to use compare more than interpret. Okay, so keep it in your mind. Here I compared more than interpret. Okay, so here we can move. So the lungs here, carbon dioxide diffuses from medium of high concentration to medium of low concentration. The blood entering is poor, while the blood leaving is going to be rich in oxygen. So what is the respiratory organ of some animal living on land? Can you give me this? Hold up. What do you know about the respiratory organs of the animals living on land? What do we call these organs? Can you give me
Lungs,
these lines? Excellent. For what?
and it uh, w- and there's the trachea.
Trachea. Excellent. So lines for whom? For mammals or for insects? Yes, Huda. So lines for mammals or
And
for
for
insects?
mammals, and
Excellent.
it's
Trachea
trachea
for insects. Thank you. So what is the respiratory organ of some animal living on land? So first we have the lungs. Lungs, whenever we have the respiratory organ as the lungs, we have to say that we have special type of respiration. So the lungs, example about this, the humans, we are humans or rabbits or pay attention to this, frogs living on land. Who can tell me, who watches the video, who can tell me what is the what is special about the lungs? I want to hear speak out Muhammad Fawaz. Good morning, Muhammad. Good morning. Muhammad, do you hear me? I think Muhammad is not available. Let's move to Fatima. Fatima Baddah. Good morning, ya Fatima. Good morning. How are you? Everything is good?
Yes.
So what can you tell me about the frogs? What is special about the frogs? You took this in grades 5 and 4. What do you know about the frogs? They are called what? Do you have an answer, Fatima?
No,
Did you watch the video?
not yet.
Not yet. So let's pick out another one. Thank you, Fatima. Let's move now to Hassan Ijradi. Hassan Ijradi, where is Hassan? Hassan Ijradi. So, Hassan. Yes, Hassan, what do you know about the frogs?
Yes,
What is special about the frogs? First of all, did you watch the video?
I watched.
Okay, great. So what do you know about the frogs? What's special about the frogs?
There's two kind of them.
Two kinds? Yes, what are these two kinds? Can you tell me?
One who lives on land
Okay,
and one lives in water. The
okay.
one lives
This
on
is the
land.
same type. Frogs, they live both on land and in water. What do we call them? Can you tell me what we call the frogs? They have a special name. Can you tell me what is this name?
Amphibian.
Excellent, Ya Hassan, thank you. They are called amphibians. So here, the respiratory organ of the frogs were, whenever they are on the land, is the lungs. Whenever they are in water, we have another organ, and they use another organ for respiration. So here, so lungs, like human, mammals, rabbits, and frogs living on land. So whenever we have the lungs, thank you, Ya Hassan. So whenever we have the lungs as a respiratory organ, here we are going to talk about special type of respiration. This type of respiration is called the pulmonary respiration. So whenever we have the lungs as a respiratory organ, so we are talking about pulmonary respiration. This one, and this is an important role and important note for you. Whenever we have the lungs as a respiratory organ, so here we are talking about special type of respiration is called the pulmonary respiration. This one you have to study them. Okay? Important notes. Let's move now to other types. Other animals respire on land, but they lack the lungs. So, what are these animals? Huda said that they are the insects. These insects, what do they use? Yes, Laya Ghrayeb, what do you think? What do the insects use in order to breathe? Yes, Laya, can you tell me what do the insects use in order to breathe? I think you had a problem unmuting yourself. I don't know why. Let's move to Talin. Talin, good morning.
Hi, Ustaz.
How are you?
Fine.
Okay, so we have insects. What do they use in order to breathe?
Trachea.
Trachea, excellent. So whenever they, thank you, Talin, whenever they use the insect, they use the trachea in order to breathe. So what do we call the type of respiration? It's called the tracheal respiration, as the name trachea. So they have a tracheal respiration. So this is another type of respiration. Till now, we have the lungs. So we have pulmonary respiration, and whenever we have the insects and they have the trachea, so we call it tracheal respiration. So till now we have two different types of respiration. The first one is the pulmonary and the second one is the tracheal. Now let's move to another type. So gas exchange in the trachea. First we talk about the lungs, medium rich and medium poor. Here in insects we don't have lungs, we have trachea. But the same concept. So oxygen gas, it diffuses from where to where? From trachea that is rich in oxygen gas, toward the organs, not toward the blood here, toward the organs that are poor in oxygen gas. So here it's the gas exchange at the level of the trachea. For example, in the question I'm going to tell you, describe the gaseous exchange at the level of the trachea. So you have to say oxygen gas diffuses from trachea, medium rich in oxygen, to the organs that are poor in oxygen. Whereas carbon dioxide, the opposite. Carbon dioxide diffuses from medium rich, which are the organs that are rich in carbon dioxide, to the trachea that is poor in carbon dioxide. This one also you have to study these notes. This is according to the gas exchange at the level of the trachea. Okay, where trachea is special for insects. Let's move now to earthworms. In earthworms, the skin is the respiratory organ. So they don't have lungs and they don't have trachea. So they have the skin as a respiratory organ. So here, earthworms, they have cutaneous respiration. And the respiratory organ is the skin. So you have to know that this is the third type of respiration. It's special for the earthworms. So they have a skin as a respiratory organ, and this respiration is called cutaneous respiration. So keep it in your mind that the skin is the respiratory organ in earthworms, and that's why they have cutaneous respiration. Till now, we have three types of respiration. Pulmonary respiration for those who have the lungs as respiratory organ. Second type, we have the tracheal respiration whenever we have the trachea as respiratory organ. Third type is the cutaneous respiration whenever we have the skin as a respiratory organ. What is the respiratory organ of fish living in water. I want to hear this from Maram. Maram Salhab, what do you know about the respiratory organ of fish living in water? What do we call this respiratory organ? The respiratory organ of the fish. It's what? Yes, Maram? Oh, I want to choose Zahra Diyat because she was raising her hand before. Zahra, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think about the respiratory organ of fish?
What's the question?
What is the respiratory organ of the fish? What do we call it? Yes, it's very easy. The respiratory organ of the fish is called what? I will give you the choices. Mouth, or it's the esophagus, or it's the gills. What do you think?
Girls.
Gills, thank you. Thank you, Zahra. It's the gills. Thank you. So here, the gills, they are respiratory organ. So here we have each gill consists of two layers containing numerous gill filaments that have very thin wall rich in blood vessels. This one, as a general information, I want you to know the importance of the blood vessels. Why do we have a many blood vessels? So blood vessels, they are responsible for carrying the gases. So here you have to know whenever the water enters the mouth, what happened? Water enters the mouth, water entering is rich in oxygen and it's poor in carbon dioxide. And then water will reach the gills, which is the respiratory organ. Then the blood vessels in gills are poor in oxygen, they are rich in carbon dioxide. So the oxygen will diffuse from the water to the blood in the gills, and carbon dioxide will move to the opposite direction from the blood from blood and gills toward the water. So here, water will leave through the operculum, okay? Through the exhalation process. Remember, water leaving is going to be poor in oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide. So here, what I want from you, in order to substitute this, you have to substitute it by this text to explain the gas rate change during respiration in fish. So you have to study this. First, water enters the mouth, water rich in oxygen and poor in carbon dioxide. Then the water reaches the gills, where blood vessels, they are poor in oxygen and they are rich in carbon dioxide. Or three, oxygen diffuses from water, which is rich in oxygen, to a medium that is poor in oxygen, which is the blood inside the gills, while carbon dioxide will diffuse in the opposite direction from the blood that's rich in carbon dioxide to in the gills to the water that's poor in carbon dioxide. And number four, the water will leave where? Through the operculum and poor in oxygen and very rich in carbon dioxide. These steps, they are instead of writing these, okay? Instead of writing this slide, you can write these text and you can write these steps. They are four steps. You can write them as a paragraph. So under the water, frogs, they respire through their skin. So their skin becomes the respiratory organ. So on land, they have lungs. In water, they have the skin. So under the water, frogs, they have the skin as respiratory organ. So they have cutaneous respiration. So as a conclusion, frogs, they are amphibians. Amphibians, they are animals that live on both land and in water. On land, they have the pulmonary respiration. So pulmonary respiration, what did we said about the pulmonary respiration? It's the lungs. So we have the lungs as respiratory organ whenever the frog is on land. While when it's in water, it has cutaneous respiration. So the skin is the respiratory organ. So it changes its type of respiration according to the medium where it's present. So this is everything related to the aquatic life and related to the different types of respiration. And also you have to review the notes and you have to study these notes and prepare yourself for the next week. Okay, guys? Thank you.